Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. So don't forget to drop a sub, drop a like, drop a comment. Those are the 3 best ways that you can support me and support this channel and help us grow to reach more people. So let's just jump straight into this one. It's a hot topic really, and USTC has always been one of those hot topics because there's so many different ideas, concepts and ways that this should be done. So what I'm going to be doing here is looking at this text proposal that's come up, which is stop minting and reminting of USTC. I think this is quite a valid thing because someone's picked up on what I've picked up on. And the biggest issue is with this repeg is there is going to be reminting of USTC. In fact, there's going to be a lot that's reminted. That's the whole idea of burning through as much as you can now, so you have more to remint later. And we're going to be going over that. We're going to be going over a few different things as to what more or less summarized down as to what realistically led to the whole kerfuffle, which was the DPEG and UST turning into USTC as it is. So like I was saying, this stop minting and reminting of USTC is so valid, and the best place we can actually look at this for a historical sort of idea of how this went previously, we can actually look at the total supply of USTC in a lovely graph form on our friendly LUNC dash, which is as operational as it can be. Everything that's backdated still really good. These charts still work great moving forward. Now, as you can see over time, we're looking back at 2022. Okay, you can see that the minting really kicks up, and then once again kicking all the way up until the point of where it got dropped very drastically. And this was the whole situation around the whole repeg in itself. And you know, at this point there was a silly amount of coins out there because Anchor Protocol themselves had around $18.7 billion of UST coins in liquidity, so to speak. So there was a lot out there, and you know, the use case in itself comes from a few different things, but realistically, right, if you look at it at its core, it was censorship resistance. That was what USTC provided. Nothing more, nothing less. It was an algorithmic stablecoin that was backed with nothing. There was no reserve, right? So nothing could be interdicted, frozen, stolen, seized by the police. There's no one that the police or authorities can go to and say, hey, you need to seize these funds, right? There was no issuer monitoring any of the use of tokens, unlike what you see on exchanges. And, you know, cooperating with law enforcement was a big thing for people who like decentralized finance. That's the whole idea behind it. You have total 100% control of your funds. So without that central point of theoretical failure, which is a point of call, which we've spoken about so many times, right? That's what really set UST aside as an algorithmic stablecoin. Now, you could look a little bit further into it and you could think to yourself, well, the cross-chain utility was there. So USTC, yes, it was a central token of this blockchain previously, right? But it could be found on Ethereum, BNB, Solana, FTM, AVAX, Osmos, and so many different others, right? We all know how big the cosmos is. We know how much is out there. So this whole sort of claim that they made, that it was pretty ambitious of them to make such a claim, because at that time it was being put into a pool in a system called Curve. And if you don't know what Curve is, right, it's like one of the most important places a stablecoin can aim to get to, because in our system, which is, you know, DeFi in itself, the whole ecosystem, right, there's hundreds of thousands, even millions of times of trades for just a single stable coin for another stable coin every day. People use it to create arbitraging, you know, situations. Everybody knows about arbitraging, and arbitraging is what more or less led to this issue we have now. So like I was saying, the end game for this was there was just too much of a large withdrawal basis at one time from Anchor Protocol, right? And that in itself, it just completely depleted the Curve liquidity pool, right? And because that got absolutely owned, you know, the arbitrage limit got absolutely overwhelmed. At that point, the system goes into spasm, and then all of a sudden it says to itself, oh, I'm not worth $1 anymore, I'm worth 50 cents. It's trying to repeg itself. How does it do that? By minting more of the other coin, thus hyperminting Luna at the time, which is now LUNC. So looking at this sort of way that the system works before, you already know historically by the data, by the information that USTC, early in the morning, UST was minted previously. It was all part of the system, right? As you gain more liquidity, you become more valuable, you mint, right? To counteract that. Because sometimes that arbitrage, it's not going to be enough. So at times there's opportunities for the business to grow, for the coin to grow. And it's one of those ones. They did it by minting out more coins, trying to, the more coins you've got, the more use cases possibly you've got out there, the better of the supply. Sometimes the larger supply is better. And when it comes down to stable coins, it's really a good thing having a substantial supply. It means more people can use your coins, right? It means there's not going to be a limit on things, but at the same time, still creating scarcity for it. So moving forward, with this whole sort of stop minting and reminting of USTC, everybody who voted yes to the quant team's repegging, you've already said yes to remint everything. They've already explained all of this. They've gone through it. This is the goal. This is the aim. And like I said, ultimately, you're going to reach the point where they are going to want to remint things. And this is the talk around the market module, right? Because for the market module to do what the market module needs to do, there has to be minting involved. And what they're like, you're going to say it's going to be balanced minting. It's going to be if one gets minted, the other one gets burnt of the other, la-di-da-di-da, that sort of thing. But I don't think it's that simple. And I think the risks are real. And I think a lot of people, think that it's just going to be boom. We've paid, boom. It's just going to repeg all of a sudden, and it's not. We have no liquidity to back this up. We know algorithmic backing doesn't work whatsoever, and we still run into these issues further down the line of someone attacking the system again, right? Someone creating an arbitrage opportunity, and with all of these different liquid staking derivatives wanting to get on chain, wanting to get at the Oracle rewards pool, it's quite obvious that the second you open up the system to all of these different things, people all the time say, oh, we should get on a loaning platform, we should do all of these different things. The reason why we're not doing that is because A, we don't pay developers to build things like that. We pay them to solve bugs, but it's what led to everything before. Like I was saying, like I was going through, this wasn't some sort of like small collapse. This was like across board. And I think something that's really good, and I've wanted to do a podcast with something like this for a long time, and I'm working together to get a podcast done, ready, and set in stone with Connor Crypto, which was formerly known as Connor Kenny. And Connor Kenny was around prior to the crash. And, getting a podcast with him, getting some information and getting a perspective before the crash is going to be so important for people who are very interested in USTC moving forward. So like I was saying, this curve system was where it was at. This is what really started to make things go whoosh. Everything started to flow. But for me, I saw a blockchain that started running before it could walk. It got far too ahead of itself. They got far too cocky. They let out too much information, and they didn't put enough safeguards in place. And it's always this ignorance thing, isn't it? Acting very ignorant, very up on your high horse, a very condescending attitude that you're better than everybody. No one can develop better stuff than you. And this is where mistakes come into play. Right? When you have these very reckless characters sit on Twitter, telling each other to suck each other's you-know-whats and crazy stuff like that, it's how can you expect a possible billion-dollar industry to be based off of sending tweets to each other saying, suck my... Because, believe it or not, as soon as DK got the bad rep that he did get, what happened? All of the tweets under the sun were being brought back up. Everything was being brought back up. And that's always going to be something that sticks with you, is these tweets and these historical behaviors that you portray. So for me, my opinion with the whole USTC repeg is I want a repeg, but it shouldn't be at the cost or the safety of this blockchain or of LUNC, and nobody should have to take the hit. This should be done slow, steady. Obviously, I'm not leading this repeg, right? I'm just a person giving their own opinion and what information I have got around me. So everything is what we currently kind of know, maybe what we don't know. And we're just back and forthing here. We're playing good cowboy, bad cowboy. Some people like to say devil's advocate, but I don't really know what you say for the opposite of that. Do you say angel's advocate, or you get what I'm saying? So, good cowboy, good cop, bad cop. it's always good to walk these paths and to try and understand, why would someone put up a proposal saying let's stop minting and reminting USTC? It's because they've noticed that this is all walking down to a path where to drop the supply that much is to get it all back in control of the blockchain, supposedly. But that means burning it to remint it, and then the whole system works off of a balanced supply in the end. So they're going to have to remint, and the way they're going to do that is they'll do it over the course of time. And I think I mentioned this to a certain quant member in a 4-hour space I was in with them, and they said, yeah, this this is the aim, and this is what we're aiming to do. And for me, this is not a solution. This is just what everybody else has proposed and what has been put forward before. And when you put it out there so bluntly as to, we need to remint to get to repeg, people are simply saying no every time. But if you push people along, right, inch by inch, step by step, and you only drip feed what information that you think is relevant to them at the time. For example, you've all been hidden from the funding dilemma. They're all acting as if it's not happening, it's not there, and it's not an issue, but it is. Right. And this is all, you get told what you need to know when you need to know it. And they get you to act how they need you to act by pushing you these very small steps. And then all of a sudden they'll say, now all we need to do is start reminting, turn the market module back on, and boom, the repeg will start. And people get so, not desperate, it's a bad word to use, right? But your inner, your conscience kicks in, right? And then that bad side of you kicks in, and it's one of those things where you start, it's a very, 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 very slippery slope, I think, is what a best way to really, it's one of those ones. You're going to just be so wanting this repeg, right? You're going to be so wanting all of this to go through that at that point you would have paid, I don't know, X amount of money, because you'd have to be Jesus to be able to repeg within a month with a month's of pay. It's just not happening. So, we're going to need them to do more work. There's going to be more paychecks, and you'll get pushed step by step, like I was saying. I just don't want to see that. Like, what I'm actually preferring now is these roadmap sort of plans. The United Vision style of doing things and actually sticking to it. And then once that plan's done, you've done everything on it and everything's been done, then move to the next stuff. Because otherwise we just keep doing this stuff, right, where we're on a bike and that bike's on a treadmill and everything just stays on the spot, but we're working all day, every day. It's not healthy. And the thing is, right, we pay a L1 team. Okay, an L1 team, they do bug fixes. They write code, and they can barely write code as it is, because if they could write good, code and do all of these different things, they'd be able to do the L2 stuff and they'd understand all those different things. But I think what we have is a very, very limited skilled development team, because for me, there's people out there that can cover all those bases, and we just need to find them as a community. So, as we push forward, I'm going to be doing another video today about the next steps of United Vision, an update on the United Vision, talking about the proposal passing, what's going on with that, where we're at with that exactly, and then explaining to you what's going on next, and we can sort of get you up to date on that side of things. But for us, we're just going to keep pushing forward, right? Because I believe that this blockchain can prosper. I believe the community can have a say, and I do believe decentralization works, unlike all of these other people that claimed over the past months that they're here to stay, they're here to build, they're here to burn, they're here to do all of these different things, but they all end up going. But something you'll notice, right, is if everybody remembers Coinin left the blockchain, right? Well, Coinin want to come back to the blockchain, and that's what you're going to start to see. As time goes on, it becomes more interesting. People like myself and those working on the United Vision, like Straff, put in the work. We start to get things built that are actually going to make a difference. It's huge. And I think one of the things as well, which I think we need to speak about in an individual video, is the last update process we went through. It took 13 weeks nearly for TFL to merge that PR. We cannot go through that again. And if that update goes up and goes through, I'm 90% sure it's going to lead to that same thing, because we need TFL, so many abbreviations for so many different goons. We need TFL to merge that update. And then it's the same for me at the moment. I need them to merge a PR for my CW20 tokens I've released for the LUNC Penguins community. And it's going to take ages to get that done. And it's going to be exactly the same with this update. So then once again, everything goes out of sync. But guess what doesn't go out of sync are all of the Hexagon stuff. Because guess what? The L1 team sold us up the river. Like I said, it all needs to go into its own video. But stuff I'm learning now is that we've been left in really poor hands. The person who was in charge of all of this before clearly thinks he left us in good hands, doesn't understand what's going on, and doesn't understand the situation he's put us all in. And yeah, like I said, speaking to people like that and actually hearing that, oh, that's awful. They didn't know this, and they didn't know that this is going on and governance isn't being respected. So it's all very interested. I'm very interested to see how this all plays out. I can't wait to get a pay per milestone system in place, and we don't keep paying development teams and other teams 3 months for them to mess around for 2.5 months and then give us 2 weeks of work and then expect another handout. Folks, keep an eye out for more videos today. I'm feeling a lot better. I can use my voice again. And yeah, just stay safe, stay humble, stay aware, and beware of scammers. There's so many of them out there. There's even LBA doppelgangers at the moment. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.